Namaste everyone. I am Souvik Datta here with my friends Mary and Lillian to talk about Saraswati. Saraswati Puja is on February 12th on Vasant Panchami, and there it's a force of the universe. She is a divine force of the universe which is very subtle, and she is always very difficult to understand. So we are here to talk about our experiences about Saraswati, and we want to begin with the Saraswati Bija Mantra. Om Aim Saraswati Namaha. So Mary, let me start with you. So in your mantra practice, in your practice of spirituality, how does Saraswati fit in, and what has been your experience?
It's so difficult, and it's ironic because Saraswati is divine speech and the power of word, and it's very difficult to put into words.
Sure.
Her grace and her power and her blessings. I guess the first thing I would say is, out of love and respect for my mantra teacher, the late Namadeva Acharya, Thomas Ashley Ferrand, who was very devoted to Saraswati in her form as Gayatri, and that was his fundamental spiritual practice. And also the name of the company under which he gave his teachings, Saraswati Publications. Saraswati is the mother of all mantras. Saraswati is divine speech. Saraswati is pure grace in the form of vibration itself. And she's not easy to attain. When the time came for me to begin seeking her, and part of it was out of devotion for my teacher and wanting to continue that close connection with him after he left his body in 2010, I began looking for the Saraswati Sahasranam, because the 1,000 names of any of the expressions of the divine are such incredible ways of connecting with those qualities within ourselves, such tremendous ways of seeing the presence of God in the world in new ways. And when I was looking for the 1,000 names of Saraswati, every time I looked, I got directed to Hanuman. And I realized at one point, Saraswati is asking me to increase my devotion, increase my bhakti. And it came to a point where I was actually at the Vedanta Center in LA looking for an image of Hanuman when I found this image of Saraswati.
It's a very beautiful image.
And she is tricky that way. She does have a sense of humor, and she is pure grace. And I'm very grateful that I've been given the blessings that I've received from her.
While I talk to Lillian, I'll ask you if do you have the book from where you got the Saraswati Sahasranam, in case you want to show our viewers where the book is?
Let me grab it.
So Lillian, in the meantime, what has your experience with Saraswati been? How do you view Saraswati?
My first experience with Saraswati was learning that, students in India, they would pray to Saraswati when they were starting school.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I just put it, and then being involved in trainings, with Jyotish, it's like, okay, I really need to have a practice with Saraswati. And so it's been over a year that I've been doing a mala practice in the morning to Saraswati with her bija name as well. And it's been in the last 4 to 8 weeks that I've noticed a certain clarity of mind, a certain calmness in my studies, and starting to put things together. And that I'm very grateful for.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And so this is the book Ma Saraswati, Goddess of Knowledge and Wisdom. And the author is Professor Shrikant Prasoon. And I actually found this on Amazon.
Wonderful.
After having looked for years, it finally showed up. And when I first got the book, one of the first things I did was called one of my friends in LA who knew how much I'd been looking at it, going, okay, I'm such a mantra geek. I'm holding the Saraswati Sahasranam in my hands. So,
Any interesting names of Saraswati that comes out that you feel is very, very interesting?
well, I love that they call Saraswati Mahakali and Mahalakshmi.
Very interesting.
And that in the names of Mahalakshmi, they will call her Maha Saraswati and Maha Durga and truth is one, many are the names.
Exactly.
And so these expressions of our Divine Mother are so important. Ironically, with Saraswati's sense of humor, in this lovely book, the Sahasranam is there, the transliteration is there, the translations are not. So I'm working on those. So.
I see. But it's very interesting that you brought that topic up of Saraswati and the divine feminine being just aspects of the same divine force, because Saraswati, and I know you had asked me this question, but very typically Devi worship is between the fall equinox, autumn equinox, and winter solstice. But you see Saraswati being worshipped after winter solstice, pretty much in Vasanta Panchami, which is almost like spring. So it's very interesting because winter solstice is when the Adityas are worshipped, when the gods, the divine quote unquote gods are worshipped as the beings of light. Now, it's actually a phase where Brahma was supposed to be worshipped if he was allowed to be worshipped in the Vedic culture, but he is not. So instead, Surya is worshipped. And what's very interesting is the association of Saraswati with both these entities, divine forms of Brahma and Aditya. So we know the story that, and the whole controversy around that Saraswati was, either born from the forehead of Brahma or the speech of Brahma, and then Brahma gets infatuated by his own creation, and heads spring up everywhere wherever Saraswati is trying to escape his gaze, as she does not want to be engulfed with any one entity. And eventually she goes up, she rises up, and Brahma's fifth head springs up, and Rudra says, that's enough, you got to stop there, and cuts off the fifth head of Brahma, so he has four heads. But I think, and bringing your point up with in a connection with Durga, Lakshmi, Kali, I think I don't see this as Brahma being the father of Saraswati, because it's very interesting. I got a book from, this is the book that I got from, it's Sri Saraswati Prarthana, Complete Prayer, very recently from the the Vivekananda Society, when I was attending the Vivekananda Janma Tithi. And it's very interesting because Saraswati, there's a verse here as a prayer from Brihaspati, Jupiter, to Saraswati from Rudra Yamala, which is Yamala text, which is a Tantra text. And there Saraswati is called the mother of Brahma, and we have references where she's called the daughter of Brahma. We have references where she's called the sister of Brahma. She's also called the wife of Brahma. So I think the allegory actually connects with intellect. So all of us have intellects, and once we see a child growing up, and that's why you see the association of Saraswati so much with children, because Vasant Panchami is a day when children pretty much of 3 years of age start writing, their first ABCs or Sanskrit ka kha gas, and it's called the khari. It's like you take a chalk and blackboard and you basically write the first letter on a paper. It's basically the intellect's ability to see patterns and to make sense of things. I don't think Saraswati was born out of Brahma. I think Brahma realized Saraswati could comprehend nature. It's a very beautiful thing that when you can't comprehend something, it's Kali. Because if you see Kali, it's like it's fierce, it's dark, it's something which you're scared of.
Mm-hmm.
You have an element of fear because you can't make sense of nature. But when you can make sense of nature, when you know, oh, this tree is there because it was a seed, and from the seed we will get a sapling, and the sapling will be a tree eventually, you understand it, then it's Saraswati. That means you have understood the flow and the pattern. So I think that's a similarity, because understanding and comprehending or seeing pattern, or understanding, making things flow in a flow. So Saraswati is associated with flow. So when you can make things flow, then it is Saraswati. When you do not find the rhythm, then it's Kali, because you're very afraid of it. So I just think it's just two sides. And when that flow is bringing you, or you can use that flow for your own prosperity. So Saraswati is, maybe it will show you that, okay, see, these trees have these twigs or branches, and you can intertwine them to make something, and you make that first hut, then you created Lakshmi. So I think, and eventually nothing lasts forever, so there will be a storm where your Lakshmi will be destroyed, and that's Kali again. And so you start. I think they're very, it's just understanding of various aspects of nature.
Yes.
What do you think about it?
Well, I think that one of many ways, and she makes you work to attain her. When I was looking for the Saraswati Sahasranam, not just the 1,000 Names of Saraswati, but books about Saraswati. Not easy to find.
Not easy to find.
It's taken years just to find these few books about her. Saraswati's gifts and the wealth that she gives are intangible. So it's wisdom. It's not just knowledge, but
Exactly.
it's wisdom.
It's wisdom.
And knowing that discernment, knowing how to interpret and how to move with the information you're being given. We're always being bombarded by information in our world. And much of the information is coming through technology.
Yes.
The screens. We're connected from here on up. Until we fully connect with our heart, until we fully connect with our whole humanity, we're not going to fully attain Saraswati. And that was the message when I was looking for the Sahasranam. It was, be sure you're fully connected to your bhakti, and then I'm going to come to you. And she did, and I'm still having to work to understand the names, which is a form of worship. It's study. And
study as a form of worship.
And looking more deeply at what these names mean is a form of Saraswati worship.
It's very interesting you mentioned discernment, because filtering out what can be accepted and what needs to be rejected is also her domain. So that selectivity is very important in today's age. Because of the bombardment of information, we need to be very careful, and that's why if you see the two Vahanas of Saraswati, peacock and the swan, the Hamsa. Now, the very special thing about the peacock of Saraswati, because I know peacock is also associated with Kartikeya, but the peacock that is associated with Kartikeya has the feathers up, and it's a dancing peacock with, with grandeur, with show. But the peacock with Saraswati does not have the feathers up. So it's basically, and the two birds have something in common, and that's the theme of Saraswati as being selective about knowledge, is peacock eats snakes which are poisonous, but it does not let that poison infiltrate within it and still maintain its grandeur. A swan or a hamsa is supposed to have the ability of selectively intaking milk from a mixture of milk and water. It basically can, it's just a myth, but basically if you mix mud and water, it can suck out the water and keep the mud. So the concept of Saraswati, what she's trying to have or develop in her worshippers is be a good judge of what to take in and what to leave out and not ingest. So one of the beautiful things that I notice about Saraswati is, especially with it generally, in today's age and time, it's become a celebration, Saraswati Puja, of kids, children.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually much more. Children are important because there's a very interesting tale where Saraswati, in certain cults, in certain way and form, is connected with Tara.
Mm.
And Tara, both in the Tibetan form of worship, also in the Vedic form of worship, has a story of being the mother of Mercury, because Tara was the wife of Jupiter, but Jupiter was unable to give her a child because he was busy with rituals, and Tara chose Moon as to be the person who could father a child with her, and that child was Mercury. So she's called the mother of Mercury as well.
Mm-hmm.
So which is why the importance of astrology and Jyotish with Saraswati, because she's supposed to, and Mercury's most important characteristic is this separation. Separate what to accept and what not to accept. This idea of seeing everything but taking things selectively. That's so mercurial. So therefore, it generally a remedy given to people who are suffering from cognitive issues, or even issues with speech. And we didn't even start talking about Vak as speech, but is worshipping Saraswati, and that's supposed to be something which will strengthen their ability to be absorb knowledge more in a more cognitive fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about the?
It's more of developing your intellect to choose wisely, or read the words wisely,
Exactly.
and not just take everything.
Take everything.
And as we do with all the electronic media,
Yes.
there's so much information out there. You have to sift through it all to really find what is the truth.
What do you think about Vak, and what do you think about speech as being so important with Saraswati?
Well, Vak is more than just utterance and
Yes.
what we can
Yes.
hear with our ears. Vak is our thoughts and the vibration that our thoughts and our beliefs emit, because that creates an electromagnetic force field that attracts and repels our experiences to and from us. Vak is also language, and we're in times of change in our world where the vibration of language itself is changing. Sanskrit is the mother of all languages. One of Saraswati's aspects is Gayatri.
Yes.
Gayatri is the mother of all mantras.
Yes.
And Saraswati as a river is also the Sushumna.
Yes.
And part of the practice of Gayatri is to do alternate nostril pranayama and to cleanse using the breath so that we prepare ourselves to receive that divine vibration. Language in its purest form, vibration in its purest form is, we need to prepare ourselves to receive it and to be discerning about what it is we're taking in and what it is that we are keeping on the outside, because the way you use language, the way you use words is how you shape your world. So it's Saraswati as Vak is incredibly powerful.
Incredibly powerful. And it's not only she's sweet, but she's also very mischievous, and she can be fierce too. And there's these two stories, where one from Ramayana, where Ravana and his two brothers Vibhishan and Kumbhakarna were praying to Brahma for the boon. Ravana had already asked his boon of not being able to, having the boon of not being killed by anyone other than, and he just left out humans because he thought they were too weak. And then Kumbhakarna's turn, and Kumbhakarna was going to ask for the asana of Indrasana. So gods went and prayed to Saraswati. Indra said that please help me out, and Saraswati sat on the tongue of Kumbhakarna and twisted his words so that instead of Indrasana he said Nidra. So continuing our discussion on Vak. So it's very interesting that and I want to read one line from this book from Rudra Yamala when there's something very interesting that he mentions about where Saraswati resides and his connection with Aditya. So this is verse which says that I bow to her who is popular among people, who is living in the Aditya Mandala, who is the cause of knowledge and destroyer of all difficulties of devotees. So Saraswati's connection with Aditya or Surya is that Surya is supposed to be the soul of this solar system, and therefore in the macrocosm transmitting or translated to microcosm, Surya is the soul in us. So therefore Saraswati resides in the Aditya Mandala. Therefore within the appease karmic debts, Sharirik karma or bodily karma for the body, Manas karma, mantras or good thoughts for the mind, and Vachaka karma, which is speech for the soul, because what we speak directly impacts our soul and the depth of where Saraswati resides. So she is elusive, but her powers are in no way negligible. So we wish you a very, very happy Vasanta Panchami from all of us here. Remember the goddess, remember she resides within you, and she gives you the power to separate good thoughts, good words from the unpleasant ones. So wish all of you a very happy Saraswati Puja.
Namaste.
Namaste.